Welcome to Radio Static Productions. First off, I'd like to thank everyone who has listened to our stories, commented, subscribed. This week we have an exciting new adventure. It's titled Interview with Danger, introducing Sammy Spencer. This is part one of a two-part story. So, once again, thank you for listening. Sit back and enjoy our story. Sammy is stuck in the advertising department at the town newspaper, the Telegraph Tribune, and walks to most of the assignments. Sammy gets around by bicycle for the crosstown assignments, but since rubber is being rationed, and not knowing for how long, it's best to save on the bike tires. And even getting advertising is tough. It's December 1944. No sales on food items. Those are all rationed. It seems everything is being rationed now. Day in and day out, Sammy went from business to business, photographing items for that particular business's advertising, or their latest "due to rationing we no longer carry" posters, or what is going on at the different entertainment venues. Most of the time, it was just basic ad in the paper. Sammy would write down the information, take a few photographs, then go back to the office, hand in the film to the darkroom that was in the basement, then go to the work desk to figure out a catchy sales pitch for the advertising. The advertising would be adjusted according to the size of the ad the business wanted and the word count. Sammy knew people that did this sort of work were not using their talent to their full potential. But trying to go up the ladder had proven difficult. The editor keeps telling Sammy, "You have to prove yourself first before I'll take you out of that department. I can't and I won't show any favoritism, even though your father is a good friend and also an employee." In that understanding voice with a cigar in his teeth, "You need to find a breaking story, Sammy. Something that will hit the headlines like a storm. It needs to be big, Sammy. Anyone can take a photograph, but it takes talent, luck, and hard work to make a story." In his gruff, now back-to-work voice, "So until then, you might as well get comfortable with photographing women's shoes and men's suits. I started at the bottom. Your father started at the bottom. And with luck and hard work, look at where we are now." Across town at the Marquee Club, fine dining and lounge, there are 3 business people gathering for a supper meeting. There is the Marquee's manager and new owner, Duke, ever since his father passed away a few weeks ago. The food delivery and trucking owner, Guy Ritchie, and the wife and co-owner of the dry cleaning and laundry service, Mabel T., wife of Mr. Jerry T. Duke said, "We all know why we're here. We have a problem. We are not strangers to each other, and have known one another for as long as I can remember. We have all been to the police, and we've all hit a brick wall with them." Guy said, "Duke, don't be so dramatic. We all went to school together. All of our businesses were handed down to us by our parents, and to them from their parents. By the way, my condolences on passing of your father. I'm surprised your place didn't get burned down during Prohibition." You both know the story behind that one. Not a thing I can do about the food rationing going on now for the war. D-Day was in June, and it's already December. It has to end soon. But let us get to the problem at hand. We are all getting tired of Johnny Lott and his pack of goons disrupting our businesses. Not only is he disrupting my business and my restaurant, he's either threatening or paying off my entertainment talent in my lounge. I just can't have that. My father would be rolling over in his grave right now if he knew what was going on. Everyone that I have hired these past 2 weeks have canceled out at the last minute or mysteriously come down with the flu after their first set. It's hard enough getting good talent. Most are overseas with the USO. The businesses that the two of you have keep my business going, and he's trying to mess with that now, too. Gentlemen, Jerry couldn't make it here tonight because he's going to have a nervous breakdown or a heart attack from everything that's been going on at the shop and the extra hours we have been having to put in. Twice we have had to rewash half of the clean laundry because someone lit the garbage in the alley on fire, and we have had to get the smell of smoke out of it. After the first fire, we were sure to remove anything burnable in the alley. But those creeps brought in their own garbage the second time. The fire department and the police were there both times, and they said, it could have been anyone. Before they can start questioning anyone, we need to have solid proof. The guy said, yes, Mabel, I'm sorry to hear about Jerry. Every time one of my delivery trucks goes out on delivery, something happens. I can understand how he's feeling. My drivers always check over their trucks before deliveries, and the trucks do get regular maintenance at the garage. There is no reason for tires to all of a sudden go flat, battery cables to come loose, distributor caps crack and get wet. Most of the time it happens during the delivery just before we get to the marquee, or in the alley while we're unloading. We are inside filling out the paperwork. His goons haven't shown up at the warehouse where I keep the trucks yet. I am down to one truck now, and I'm the driver. My other deliveries are now taking a hit because I'm finding it hard to get everything delivered on time. You know how you're the only one that delivers for me, Guy. And Mabel, your shop is the only place that does my tablecloths, napkins, and staff uniforms. Johnny Lots is not trying to destroy our businesses. He wants to take them over and put them all under one roof, so to speak. The guy said, yes, we are starting to understand that, but does anyone have any idea what we can do about it? I have tried to get witnesses. I know people standing around the alley would have seen his goons messing with my trucks, but he has either paid them off or threatened them to stay quiet. Duke said, I have an idea. If everything goes right, it should work. Have the two of you met Sammy, the advertising photographer at the Telegraph-Tribune? Mabel said, yes, I have. That kid has spunk, and a darn hard worker. Guy chimed in, I haven't, but the ads in the paper really catch your eye now. I was talking with Sammy not that long ago. They were having a rough day. Sammy said in order to get out of the advertising department, the head chief said they needed a front-page breaking news story. Not just a robbery or a car accident. Something new. Something really big. Something that people will talk about for a while. I was thinking about setting up a meeting with Sammy here at the restaurant, and we can all have a talk. Well, it's worth a try, Guy added. Mabel said, sitting around not doing anything isn't going to help. Duke responded, I will set it up for tomorrow at lunch. Everyone be here for noon. I will call the paper and say I need Sammy here immediately for this weekend's promotional advertising for my entertainment. It's the holidays, and I was able to get someone called Perry. So, lunch the next day went well. Sammy agreed with much excitement to help them out. This would give Sammy a chance to put some of Dad's special cameras he left for Sammy to use to good use. No need to carry around the large press camera, but it's always good to have an extra camera just in case. These cameras fit in your pocket or on a chain you can wear around your neck and tuck into your shirt. Dad said, Sammy, only use these if there's a really good reason. They are not your everyday cameras. Saving the livelihoods of these 3 businesses is a good reason. They all put their heads together and figured out a plan. They don't hit the businesses on the same day or night. The plan is to, 1, catch them harassing the dry cleaners and be there in the evening tonight, Wednesday, and Thursday if needed. 2, catch them at the lounge harassing the entertainment Friday or Saturday night. And 3, catch them messing with the truck in the alley of the Marquee Club during the Monday delivery. All of this, and Sammy still had a day job. If Sammy told the boss they had a story, they would send someone else from the paper to cover it. And I can't take time off because that doesn't pay the bills. Sammy showed up at the cleaners, and Mr. and Mrs. T were both working. Jerry will go home and sleep, and Mabel T will work the night shift. Sammy did bring the large press camera to get some advertising photos. Day or night, they will clean your clothes right. Sammy helped Mabel with the mangle. There's a reason it has that name. They were pressing the tablecloths for the marquee, and Mabel showed Sammy how to remove stains from wool suits. Then Mabel let Sammy sleep. If I hear anything, I will wake you up. Tuesday and Wednesday night went by and nothing happened. It was Thursday night or early Friday morning, about 2 a.m. Jerry was working. That is when one of Johnny Lott's goons showed up. Jerry heard something out in the alley. As Jerry opened the back door, Sammy had the large press camera ready. The goon barged in, knocking Jerry against the door frame. Johnny's goon had a bucket of what smelled like old grape juice. Sammy, with the large flash of the press camera, caught him by surprise. The goon ripped the large camera out of Sammy's hands and tossed it in the laundry bin. As he was tossing the bucket of grape sludge, Sammy snapped some photos with a small Minox camera that Sammy was wearing around the neck on a chain. The goon must have been seeing spots from the flash of the press camera, because his aim was off and most of the sludge ended up on the floor. Some of it hit their mark, and the goon left rubbing his eyes. The smell was horrible. Sammy helped Jerry, who was somewhat shaken up by the event and had a good-sized bump on his head. Jerry said, "Sammy, watch the shop. I'm going home, and Mabel will take the rest of the night shift. She will be here in a little bit. Can you put those clothes that got dirty to soaking in that tub over there? And the cleaning supplies are in that closet. We need to get this cleaned up. It smells really bad, and I don't want it to get into the other clothes. I need to get home and put some ice on my noggin. I hope it was just bad juice." That stuff, whatever it was, had a real odor to it. Sammy put the clothes to soaking and cleaned up the mess. More than once, Sammy stepped outside to get fresh air and opened the windows to air the place out. Once Mabel showed up, Sammy checked the camera that was tossed in the bin. There was no harm done, and then went to sleep. In the morning, Mabel gave Sammy a wake-up nudge and a muffin. Sammy went to work from the T's dry cleaners and straight to the newspaper's basement. This is where the newspaper does their photo processing. There's a dark room, and the archives in the far corner of the basement, and a few office desks. It's called the morgue. There is nothing dead about it, but not far from this area is the printing press that was chugging away in a roar, working hard to get the next edition of the paper out, the machine that keeps the paper alive. The archives hold the notes and photographs that breathes life into the newspaper. Ralph is in charge of this area. He was a reporter during the times when the banks crashed and the mobs ran rampant, and the booze didn't. It was made in bathtubs. Instead of retiring, and while he still had his kneecaps and didn't have concrete boots, he went to work in the basement as the head developer of the newspaper's photos and as the archive keeper. Ralph said, "Handing in more advertising, Sammy?" "Okay, I won't ask where you got that camera from, but I will be happy to process the negatives for you, and you can have a look at them. Then you can choose which ones we should develop to print." "I'm not trying to be rude, Sammy. Really, I'm not. I just want to be honest. Sammy, you could use a shower. Is that rotten grapes I smell?" Sammy went upstairs and told the boss that a trip home to change was needed, as there was an issue at one of the photo shoots. Sammy wasn't lying. It was at a shoot, and the other workers were coughing and gagging as Sammy walked by. The boss said, "Get out of here. You're smelling up my office. Go home. See you on Monday." Sammy went home and showered, put the smelly clothes to soaking, put new film in the cameras, now to find something professional looking to wear for this evening's events. It was noon, and Sammy was tired. An alarm clock was set, and Sammy went to sleep. I had to be at the Marquee Club at 5 p.m. sharp. Sammy woke up, dressed quickly, and showed up at the Marquee just before 5 p.m. And Duke gave the grand tour. Duke said, "I insist on paying you. I want some photos of me in the entertainment, and maybe some photos of me with my staff. It's time to get this place out of the 20s. I'm going to start putting autograph photos of the entertainers on the wall. I want to modernize a few things, like the entertainers' dressing rooms and the stage. These would be before and after photos, and something to put in the memory books. If anything happens to this place, maybe for insurance purposes too." Sammy hung out around the stage, also behind it and in the hallways of the dressing rooms. Sammy took some very pleasant photos of Duke and a member of the staff looking at a menu, and one of Duke talking with the bartender and laughing. Sammy then headed backstage towards the dressing rooms and leaned against a wall near one of the rooms. Sammy heard, "I don't care who you are. You're not going on the stage tonight." Sammy rushed to the dressing room, gave the door a quick knock, and went in without waiting for permission to enter. Both men looked shocked. Sammy used the press camera and snapped some photos of the two men. Perry said, "He isn't with me. You must be Sammy. Duke said you would be here to take photos and get an interview. Just call me Perry." "Well, big guy, aren't you going to be friendly and introduce yourself to the reporter?" The other man grabbed Perry by the front of his tuxedo and gave him a threatening shake, and Sammy took a photo with the Minox without the men even noticing. Then the goon went to leave and came towards Sammy and was met with another bright flash from the press camera. He shied away and blinked rapidly and gruffly left the room while slamming the door. "I have a feeling you got the photos that you needed. That man tried to pay me off, but I need the work. And if I get the reputation of being a no-show, it's not good for future engagements. But then the threats started. But I'm not worried about that." Duke came into the room. Sammy was in the process of changing film and the light bulb in the flash. Sammy took some nice photos of the two of them talking, then sitting and having a small drink on the sofa. Duke told Perry that he had nothing to worry about this evening and to just sing away. "I have some friends that are going to be sure nothing happens tonight. They owe me a favor. Sammy, I have a table reserved for you by the kitchen. Get yourself something to eat. Order whatever you want and enjoy the show. Would you let me try taking a photo of the two of you?" Sammy got the camera ready. All Duke had to do was aim and press the button. Duke gave it his best effort using the press camera. And Sammy went to the table in the back corner by the kitchen, and then took photos of the wait staff rushing about with their trays high in the air. It's been so long since Sammy had smelled meat cooking. All the high-paying customers had tables by the stage. Duke came up to Sammy and motioned for Sammy to come into the kitchen. "Take a few photos in here, too. I want to upgrade the kitchen, too. Once the rationings are lifted, I mean. I can't get new kitchen equipment until then. Come over here, Sammy, by the door, and take a look over by the stage. See that center table by the stage? That man at that table is Johnny Lott, with a guest. Would you be able to get a photo of him? We could take a walk over together and improvise from there." Sammy and Duke walked over to a nearby table. Duke started talking with the customers, asking them if they were enjoying the evening. Sammy, using the large press camera as camouflage, used the small Minox camera to get a photo of Johnny Lott giving Duke some dirty looks. Then Johnny got up and walked over to him. Duke put out his hand for a gentleman's handshake, and Johnny whispered, "This place will be mine soon enough, whether or not your blood is on the floor. It's up to you." And Duke, in his grand way, said, "Johnny, enjoy your evening here." Sammy walked back to the table by the kitchen, and Duke followed and sat down with Sammy. "I didn't see you take any photos. What went wrong?" Sammy showed Duke the small camera, explaining this probably cost more than a Rolls-Royce and was about as rare at the moment. "I also heard Johnny threaten you. I will be sure to tell the police that. Johnny is not getting the Marquee Club as long as I am still standing. I won't ask where you got that camera from or why you have it." Duke gave Sammy a pat on the back and gave out a hearty laugh and walked off into the kitchen. Came back out with a very large, gorgeous piece of chocolate cake and a large mug of coffee. Where in the blazes did Duke get coffee and the ingredients to make chocolate cake? Duke gave a wink and went off to visit with more customers. Sammy wanted to take a photo of the cake and coffee, but didn't want to get in trouble if anyone saw it. Didn't want to get Duke into trouble either because all the tablecloths had a large monogrammed MD if they were in the dining room, or ML if the tablecloths were from the lounge. Very unique and recognizable. Even the cloth napkins had a small MC on them. Sammy wasn't going to ask any questions. Just sat and ate the wonderful tasting cake, drank the warm coffee. A very nice combination after such a fantastic meal. Sammy started thinking and started to feel a bit guilty knowing that there were soldiers on the front lines and citizens in Europe having to go without such pleasures. Then started thinking about Dad. Sammy finished the cake and coffee, gave Duke a wave, and walked out. For a Friday night, the streets were not that busy. Just a few people here and there walking. No cars because gas and oil were being rationed. Just a police car parked a few blocks away. The weather almost felt like it could snow. Wonder if it will be a white Christmas this year. Sammy took a leisurely stroll back home to the apartment. The brisk, fresh air was nice after being in all that cigar and cigarette smoke of the Marquee. Sammy shared an apartment with Dad and Aunt Dolly. Sammy started thinking of Dad again, hoping he is safe. They haven't received a letter from him in quite a while. Dad is overseas on assignment for the newspaper with the USO on the Foxhole circuit. He even got to photograph Marlene Dietrich while performing for the troops. He works for another agency, or was it a magazine? He doesn't talk about that. It just slips once in a while when he was home. Sammy stopped and took some photos of some shop windows and couples walking along the evening streets. Night scenes are hard to take, but if you can get it right, they can fetch a good price. Sammy got the photography bug from Dad when Sammy was much younger. Was taught aperture setting, shutter speed, ISO, and being in the right place at the right time. You can't catch a sunrise if you're sleeping, Dad would say. He also taught Sammy how to interview people. The two of them started with Aunt Dolly. She would pretend to be different people. Famous writers, chefs, actresses, and criminals. Aunt Dolly was a teacher and then a librarian. She liked teaching so much that she never married. Being a married school teacher was frowned upon. It was then Sammy noticed something. Those same two people have been following me since they left the Marquee. The couple would stop every once in a while and looked in the same shop windows that Sammy would photograph. Sammy stopped at the stairs to the entrance of the apartment building and pretended to look at a malfunctioning camera, grumbling about it being big, bulky, temperamental thing. The couple called out, "Hello, Sammy. Happy holidays." Wasn't that performance at the Marquee great? Hope you have a good evening. They went inside the apartment building before Sammy could say anything. Sammy took a deep breath and smiled. I must be getting jumpy. Those are the newer tenants from one floor below us. I met them last week, but didn't realize who they were under the street lamps. Sammy showered and dressed for bed and looked at the pile of clothes in the corner. Aunt Dolly must be volunteering again for the Red Cross. Maybe I'll bundle them up and bring them to T's Laundry and have them washed there. The clothes that were soaking got a quick hand wash and were hung over the heater to dry. They don't smell anymore, but they are stained. I need to stop by the paper, drop off the film, and look at those negatives. I bet Ralph has already picked out the best photos from the film that I dropped off the other day. Ralph has a good eye for that. He's been doing it long enough and has done his own reporting in the past. Sammy wasn't sure when sleep finally came. Upon waking up, Sammy could hear Dolly rustling around in the kitchen, and the smell of fried eggs filled the room. Sammy went into the kitchen, and Aunt Dolly put a plate of eggs and toast on the table. Dolly, in her always cheerful morning voice, said, "Sammy, I will be doing laundry today and making bread. I have been helping at the Red Cross. It's a busy time. Families want to send packages to the troops. Do you have your ration book? I need to pick up a few things today before I start making bread and doing the laundry." Sammy went and retrieved the ration book and gave it to Dolly. Aunt Dolly, in the blink of an eye, had her hair scooped up in a bun and held there with a blue scarf. Then out the door she went. That woman just never sits still. The paper is pretty quiet on the weekend. The Sunday edition will be out tomorrow morning. Ralph looked up from what he was doing with a huge smile. Sammy, Sammy, Sammy. So you're going after the big one. I have your negatives in safekeeping for you, along with your notes. There are some nice photos of the dry cleaners, too. I didn't realize they work nights, too. Good old-fashioned Americana. And I see you brought me more film. And I assume you want to put these notes with the photos for safekeeping, too, as well. More advertising? And Ralph gave a wink. You be careful, Sammy. Those goons look like they mean business. Sammy walked back to the apartment, since that's where the action is today. Nothing smells better than clean laundry and homemade bread baking, and nothing is more relaxing than a good chat with Aunt Dolly. And that was the first installment of our two-part story, Interview with Danger, with Sammy Spencer. Once again, thank you for spending some time with us listening to our story. Please remember to comment, and if you feel like it, subscribe, and share with your friends. Tune in next week for the second part of Interview with Danger. Thank you, and now ends our broadcasting day.